I'm Cheryl Chumley. This is Bold and Blunt, giving you a Christian conservative view of news, politics, culture, and events. Gal Kalev, I want to thank you so much for being back on Bold and Blunt video. It's great to have you. I see your background is Jerusalem this time around again.
Absolutely, the old city of Jerusalem.
So first off, how are things on the ground in Israel, the ongoing war and so forth?
Well, you definitely feel it. We just finished celebrating the Jewish holidays, Sukkot, Simchat Torah, which is when it all started on October 7th. And we have a lot of people in the military. You have, sadly, casualties every day. And you have rockets and missiles coming at us by the hundreds every day. And today is no exception.
So the intel leak that I was just reading headlines today about how Israel actually delayed its plans to counterattack against Iran because of the intel leak. What can you tell me about that from Israel?
Just mind-boggling. We're the active front of the Western war on terrorism. We're fighting for our survivals, but we're also, as a byproduct of that, fighting for the United States, for France, for Spain, for the Western world. And it's bad enough that we get our hands tied with threats of war crime investigations, with sanctions, with the Biden administration trying to sanction units of the Israeli military. And now this leak, Israel shared its plans to retaliate against Iraq, to defend Iran, to defend ourselves from the Iranian attack and deter from subsequent attacks, and that somehow got leaked. So I think the sense in Israel, some people on the street are saying, like, why are we, a lot of people saying, why are we listening to the United States? Like, why can we not just win the war? Why is our hand being tied? Let's just do it. And the answer to that is pretty simple, because we can't. We need, American weaponry and support. But now some people are saying, well, why are we sharing what we're doing with the United States if they cannot keep it to themselves? They're going to tell us not to do it. They're going to, put restrictions on it. And apparently now they cannot keep it, they cannot keep it. So this is a blow to our war efforts on top of all the other restrictions that we're being placed on.
So it goes toward the theme of your new book, The Assault on Judaism. And I just wanted to, first off, congratulate you on that book. It's very timely and crucial. And second off, just give you a chance to draw, I guess, links between what you discovered in your book, or what you opine in your book, and what's taking place in the modern world today in regards to the global look at Jerusalem and Israel, and how Israel somehow is always to blame for whatever war actions come in the Middle East.
I mean, you said it right. Israel is always to blame, but that's been the case for 2,300 years. Israel, the Jews, were always to blame. That was a staple of European history, and I think that was disrupted by the American Revolution and by the Zionist Revolution. And what we're seeing over the last year is a broad Western attempt to negate the idea of the Jewish state, and through it to negate the idea of Judaism. And what I show in the book is that this assault on Judaism is also a proxy assault on the United States, an attempt to negate its Judeo-Christian values and attack it indirectly through attacking Israel. One of the reasons I wrote this book is because people are not focused on it. People are naturally focused now on the physical assault on the Jewish state that's coming from Iran and its proxies. And as I said, every day we're sustaining casualties. We have missiles coming in, and that's understandable. But at the same time, we have an ideological assault at Judaism coming from the West. And I'm showing in the book that is the path to destroy Judaism. In every era, there's an attempt to eradicate Judaism. Last century, it was through a physical attempt in Europe, the German-led attempt. They were able to kill a third of the Jewish population. In our century, it's not a physical attempt; it's an ideological attempt. I like to say that war crimes. It's through war crimes that war crimes need a war. In other words, October 7 allowed the ideological path to the destruction of Judaism that occurs in the West through sanctions, through demoralization, to incitement, and through war crime indictments. It allowed it to happen. And sure enough, over the last year, that's what we've seen. So I'm describing in the book, what we've seen over the last year, in the context of an attempt, a very nuanced, layered attempt to negate the idea of the Jewish state, and through the idea of Judaism. And I'm not doing that in a hostile way. I'm doing it from the inside, if you will. I'm part of the media. I have friends in the media, so I understand how they chose particular headlines and how the media operates in such a way that today, just like 100 years ago, the world population is indoctrinated with the knowledge that Jews, in this particular case, the Jewish state, is a pariah opposed by the rest of the world. That's not my words. That's Senator Chuck Schumer's words. And that once again, the Jews are the bad actors. I'm showing how governments had to react, first in rhetoric and then, sadly, in actions. We've seen the United States on February 1st issue an executive order that gives Treasury and State a broad license to sanction Israeli Jews. First it was dismissed against a few settlers, and we spoke about it. Now it's broadly. So it's a sense of a method, whether it's willingly or unwillingly, to instill Jewish insecurity through this action. So I'm showing how there is a broad, nuanced, layered ideological assault on Judaism coming from the West, how it is an existential threat to the survival of all Jews, including those who bash Israel themselves, and how that is a threat to the United States. As we spoke in the past, I don't think the assault on Judaism should be treated by some national security czar or planting trees. We have nice trees, as you can see here in Jerusalem. It's not, sorry, I misspoke. It should not be treated under the anti-Semitic czar. It should be treated under the national security czar. Because so far, the reaction to the assault on Judaism, all the things that have been discussed, is issuing statements and writing textbooks. It's a national security issue for the United States, and it should be treated as such.
I want to go back to what you said a couple minutes ago about having friends in the media. And I'm just curious that when you just have discussions with your friends in the media, do they tell you sort of off the record, just friend to friend, that their headlines or their content of their stories related to Israel are being changed in their viewpoints in a biased manner by editors? Do they have firsthand evidence of that?
Yeah, I talk about it in the book. I have 2 chapters about like related to this thing in the media. First of all, there's the issue of the headlines, because most people read the headlines, including myself. I mean, I don't follow, every single item in the world, every single conflict, every single issue. So most of us consume news through a headline, and a lot of time, as we know over the years, you had headlines such as, Israel kills 3 Palestinians after, a violent day. So the 3 Palestinians happen to be terrorists, who were shooting somebody, and things along those lines. So my journalist friends always, for the years, have told us it's not our fault. It's headquarters, and they also told me that media is a business, so they understand. They justify their editors' decisions because they need to generate clicks. So if you say, oh well, there was a incident. One journalist once told me, Israel kills Palestinians. That's what Europeans love to hear, and that's what they click through, and that's what generate ad revenues. So sadly, we're in sort of like a self-feeding. It's sort of like a roundabout that you have the media incites the people against the Jewish state for years. The people are incited, and therefore they want to hear, the Jews are at it again, just like they wanted to hear in the 1930s. The Jews are, polluting Europe and are occupying Europe and doing all of that kind of stuff. Now they want to hear the Jews are occupying Palestine and all this. So that's one aspect of it. Another is an ecosystem amongst my journalist friends that is intertwined with what we call here the conflict industry, the employees of UNRWA, of the UN, of the EU, of NGOs here in Jerusalem. And they have a particular narrative, and it's impossible not to be affected by it. And there's various other factors, but the end result is that there is that there's a certain echo chamber and a certain almost alternate universe that some of the journalists live in. They come here for a few years. They don't have the same background, and sadly that gets transmitted onwards and creates incitement. And I compared in the book to what happened in previous centuries and previous episodes. When the world was incited against Jews.
Do you think, just a couple questions left, our time grows short, but do you think that Israel could do a better job of getting out its side in the media? Because I know that Israel recognizes that one of the major tiers of fighting a successful war is the PR battle, is the media. What do you see that Israel could do better to counter the anti-Semitic messages in the media?
So I'm here in the minority opinion, and the general answer to your first question, I don't think there's much we can do. We can do, of course, we can talk about all kinds of stuff that we can do. We can have younger audiences. We can have, the spokespeople, should not be, like older people. Should be relatable. Should be, people that from the progressive circles that support us and things along those lines. So we can do a lot, in that, but still, it will move the needle just a little bit, because I think that this is are predetermined. This is not, as you said, Cheryl, at the beginning, Israel is always the bad guy. So therefore, that's why in this book, I'm offering other strategies. One is what I said briefly, that, you got to reclassify this whole idea of the assault on Judaism. It's not, anti-Semitism is a particular form of Jew hatred that existed in the previous century and was a threat to, still exists today, but it's not an existential threat. In other words, marchers in Charlottesville yelling Jews will not replace us do not have the capabilities to run up the Jews and kill them and create damage. But people in the International Criminal Court, people who impose sanctions on Israeli Jews, people who demoralize, do have the capability to, as we spoke a number of times, lead to what I call DAS, to the eradication of Judaism, to demoralization, through attrition, through sanctions. So I think it's more has to do with changing frameworks, changing minds, recognizing that Judaism has transformed, that we're in Judaism 3.0, as we've spoken over the last couple of years, that Zionism has become the anchor of Judaism. And therefore, opposition to Judaism is expressed through anti-Zionism. And Shel, if I may, we see this in the campaign, just in the last few days, in the campaign, because Kamala Harris, when she was asked about anti-Semitism by a voter in Philadelphia the other day, by a Jewish voter. And the answer she gives has to do with Hitler, and she said, well, Trump, Trump's advisor said that he wants his general to be like as loyal as, the generals of Hitler was, and Hitler and fascists. And she evokes the threat of the previous century, while Trump on the same day was asked a similar question, and he was talking about Iran. And he was saying that how horrible it is that Biden does not allow Israel to bomb the nuclear sites and the oil sites of Iran. Let's not forget that, everybody talks about October 7th. How did that happen? Because Iran had the means to sponsor this and to support it. And so, you see in the campaign, this one group that at least, their research, maybe, I don't know, Kamala's research, believe that some Jews are still focusing on the threat of yesterday, that they think that the threat to Judaism comes from the Nazis. While another set of Jews that I guess Trump is speaking to understand that, we're October 7th was 2023, 1940, and that the threat continues, the missiles are coming in today. I mean, talk about fact checked, check a calendar and realize that we are in 2024 and realize that today the missiles are coming in from Iran, that we have a threat in Hezbollah, we have a threat from Yemen, we have a threat from Iraq, we have a threat from Gaza, we have a threat from the West Bank, and that's the threat. That's the threat that then later manifests itself as a personal threat to American Jews. So we see this contrast in the campaign. We see this, and I discussed this in the book in an unpolitical way, that there is an existential threat to Judaism that's coming from the West in the form of sanctions, in the form of demoralization, and that's a threat we should be focusing on.
And you answered the question I was going to finish up with. I was going to ask you which candidate here in America, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, advanced more the view from your book, The Assault on Judaism. So thank you for that. You saved me from having to ask the question. Gal Kalev, I want to thank you so much for being on Bold and Blunt. We will talk next week. Stay safe. And again, congratulations on your book.
Thank you very much. Thank you.